we are going to go over how to clean and maintain both your saxophones and your bass clarinet. So after you are playing, you should always wipe down the inside of your instrument to keep it nice and clean. What you should have is you should have a swab such as this alto sax swab that has a long string and a weight at the bottom. What you do is after you are done playing, you take your saxophone. You always drop the weight of the swab from the top out the bell, never the other direction. We always want to go skinny end to fatter end. So we drop our weight down, we feed it all the way until it gets to the bottom of the saxophone. For bass clarinet, if you have one of the two-bodied clarinets, you just do each piece one at a time, drop the swab down, pull it all the way through. Then we turn, weight falls out the bell, and then we just give this a pull, and it runs all the way through the inside of the instrument. Do that once or twice at the end of playing. That will keep the inside of the instrument dry and will prevent it from getting grimy on the inside. For your neck, what you should do is also the same thing. We take our weight, we drop it through where the mouthpiece goes. And this is the same with tenor sax. And then we just pull this through. Make sure that you do not use this unless you have one of these really thin silk cloths, because it will not go through this. Please see me if you don't have one, and we have something else for you to use. For your mouthpiece, make sure you never have your reed on your mouthpiece when you are done. Always take your reed off, put it inside the plastic case. That way the air circulates around and is able to dry the reed out. If you leave the reed on your mouthpiece, it is going to stay wet, it's going to mold, it's going to mildew, and it's going to be gross. You're going to be putting that inside your mouth each day when you play. So always take your reed off, stick it back inside that plastic case, and then for your mouthpiece, you could always take your same little cleaning cloth and just wipe it down so that way it's dry. When you see gunk building up, or every week or two, just get your mouthpiece wet. So take your reed and your ligature off, just dip this in water, run it under a faucet, and we just take our mouthpiece brush and we just stick it to the bottom, push through and give it a twist, and it will brush out any leftover gunk and grime left inside the mouthpiece. You do not need to do this every day, but once a week, depending on how often you play, just give it a little brush through and it will keep it nice and clean, because remember, everything that's inside here is going inside your mouth. Especially if you have one of the newer saxophones or clarinets, you might have a polishing cloth, this blue rag. This is not to be cleaning off dirt and grime. This is to take fingerprints and smudges off of our saxophone. So especially if you have one of these new shiny ones, you just can rub the outside of the instrument down, not something you have to do every day, and it just takes the water spots, the fingerprints and everything, and keeps the instrument looking nice and shiny. This is not something you need to do every day. This is not something that every instrument is going to have or is required. As long as you are swabbing out the inside of your instrument and brushing out your mouthpiece to keep food particles and everything from inside the instrument out, that is what we need. If you are concerned because you've been sick recently or want to make sure that it's extra sanitized, every so often you can use isopropyl alcohol. Not water, not soap, but isopropyl alcohol. You spray the rag that goes through the instrument. You get it lightly damp. Run it through the inside of the instrument. It'll spread the alcohol around the inside of the instrument, enough to clean the bacteria, the germs, the viruses, but not damage the metal or the pads. This is why we don't use water, because the pads and the cork cannot get wet. It will damage them. The one thing that can get wet is your mouthpiece for saxophone, not for clarinet, because there is no cork on a saxophone mouthpiece. There is on bass clarinet, so we do not want to get that fully submerged. We can dip it in some soapy water and brush it through, but do not get the cork wet. And then make sure you rinse it out and dry off the mouthpiece before putting it away. And that is how we clean and maintain our saxophones and our bass clarinet.